Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, once again, and welcome to the Council of One's Babylon 5 review. And today we are covering the episode There that All the Honor Lies. And man, is that a mouthful. That's what she said. Sorry. And with me today, we've got the council fully assembled. I've got Fiona Wolf, Zod Rider, Mountains of Elysium, and Classic Comics. Lady and gentlemen, thank you all for being here once again. It's a pleasure as always. This is honestly a highlight of my week. And Zod, thank you for finally being able to join us. I know you've been wanting to, but you've been busy and life and the universe and everything gets in the way. 42.
Yeah, it's great. It's great to finally be able to be here. This is awesome.
Yeah. There you go.
And Fiona Wolf, I like you. The last best hope for a quick buck, Susan Ivanova.
Yeah, great quote from the episode, of course.
And we will of course get into that part of the episode all in due course. But yeah, this episode we've got some political intrigue. As always, it's Babylon 5. It wouldn't be Babylon 5 if we didn't have political intrigue. We've got a couple of little comical situations, one in particular with merchandising, where the real money is made. And of course, Veer is worried because he's going to be replaced because now the position is important. So, that all being said, lady, in terms, where would y'all like to begin?
Well, there is something interesting in this little trivia thing I'm looking up. Apparently, Julie Catlin Brown, who plays an advocate, played Natoth in the first season of Babylon 5. Yeah. She was the advocate in this episode.
And you actually get wait. She was Sheridan's lawyer.
Yep.
Yeah. That's pretty cool. Yeah. I kind of recognized her a little bit, but I was trying to figure out where I'd seen her before.
Well, see, the thing is,
I'll just say this real quick. Unless I'm mistaken, didn't she also play Kalar on Star Trek TNG? The Klingon, the half Klingon, half human.
No, that's
is that somebody else?
Susie Paxton or something like that.
Okay, all right, my mistake. All right. Anyway.
The only thing I was going to say is because when I was listening to the commentary on the DVDs about this part or about certain parts for her role, she's very pretty, but they commented that since she was buried under all the Narn makeup, most people didn't realize how pretty she was.
Mm-hmm. Well, I remember, I don't know if it was in the commentary or not, but I seem to remember reading or hearing somewhere about, of course, I think she originally played the character. And they liked her in it because kind of like with Andreas Katsoulis, she was good at kind of projecting through the makeup, and that the other actresses that played Natoth, because I think there were two of them.
Yeah,
other actresses weren't as good as that. Although I will mention one of the other actresses that played Natoth, I forget her name, but she played a Klingon on an episode of DS9.
Oh, did she? Okay.
Yeah, so. I think it's the one where Quark falls in love has the little fling with the Klingon woman.
Mm-hmm.
House of Quark, I think it's called. Yeah, I think that was her in that.
Oh boy.
Well, being able to properly emote through all that makeup is a key element for the character. So I'm always thankful for that because that adds a lot of believability.
Yeah, just real quick to the chat, LDG Pixels. Good afternoon, my friend. Good to see you, and best of luck on your one chip challenge. He's apparently putting himself through some more torture, folks. So once we're done here, go pop over to LDG's channel and check him out and everything as he does something horrific to himself, which should either be sad or comical, one or the other. And also to the chat. Beer 31, good to see you. Thank you for popping by. Appreciate it as always. So, well, and I guess we can just start at the beginning, obviously, with this episode because Sheridan's gotten his neck in the sling once again. And of course, it would have to be with the Minbari. It couldn't be with someone pleasant like, I don't know, the Narn. And of course, we get our little lesson. He gets another lesson with Ambassador Kosh. Gotta love that Kosh. And we'll get into that part, obviously. But as I said, guys and gals, wherever you want to start, whatever plot point you want to hit on in this episode, we'll go there. So,
the setup for him, his link getting taken was very, very obvious, but they didn't want poor Sheridan to think about that at the time. No, just convenient setup of like, oh no, there's a Minbari warrior cast in front of me. Oh dear.
mm-hmm.
Oh boy.
One thing that's I'm sorry.
No, fire away. Oh, is it the half first? I yield to your authority.
Well, thank you. I was just going to say, I don't know if anybody else noticed this, but I'm already started. When you watch this episode, I noticed a little bit of gray in Sheridan's hair already. And I don't know if this is from, just the experience of having watched Babylon 5 so many times to the point where now I'm actually looking at little details. But did anybody else notice a little bit of gray in Sheridan's hair in this episode?
Well, yeah, he has a little stripe of it across the top.
It's kind of, but it was, for some reason, for me, it felt like it was pronounced in this episode for some reason, and I don't know why I caught that, but that was just something that stuck out to me immediately at the beginning of this episode.
Well, see, I noticed it when he was talking to Delenn. It's like where the light hits, it's like, oh, there you go. But then again, I like seeing a little bit of gray in a guy's hair.
I was just saying, when we're mentioning about the warrior cast, supposedly Lavelle is actually religious cast. He was just wearing the warrior cast uniform.
Yep.
And I wonder, is this the sort of beginning to the break, or the reason why disrespect from the religious cast towards others? And possibly the same with the warrior cast doing their own thing. It's kind of a sign of breakdown in Minbari society more than just what we see.
Yeah, it definitely suggests turmoil among their different social groups.
Well, yeah, because I think I remember Delenn mentioning at one point, with whether or not which caste takes prominence through the mother or the father. That was a really big thing. So pretending to be another caste is probably a big no-no.
Probably. But, the interesting thing for me, particularly with the plot line and everything for Sheridan, is you've got Garibaldi is on his side. And Garibaldi the gumshoe once again, and you've got to love the tenacity and the doggedness of Michael Garibaldi and everything, and that really does show up in this particular episode when he's trying to figure out. He's like, "I'm right there with you, but because something stinks here."
It's like he's everywhere. Yes, Lanier's coming and going. Well, it also showcased that Lanier's just as dogged in finding out the truth, because he's upset that his own. When Delenn made the remark that Ashan's statement is dubious, and that troubles both of them.
Mm-hmm. Well, and the other interesting thing is this whole issue of do Minbari lie? And of course, of all people, who gives them a lead but Londo. And amidst everything he's trying to deal with, he's got an attaché that's gone into the bottle and hasn't decided to come out yet.
Yeah, all 2 drinks.
And he shows up 4 figures. I've had 2 4.
I love Londo's reaction when he was just like, "You had but 2?"
I like to nurse my drinks.
Well, obviously he's a lightweight. Amongst Centauri, he would not last long at a kegger. We're not hosting an intergalactic kegger down here. Zed. Sorry, different movie. I don't know why I said that. Oh well. But anyway, the other part of this episode is, of course, the Babylon 5 Emporium. And don't we just love it? Because we actually see merchandise that was actually sold to the public.
Yeah, actual real stuff. A lot of those dolls were actually on store shelves.
Yep, at a lot of comic book stores in particular and everything. When I was growing up as a kid watching Babylon 5 and I saw the action figures and I saw the dolls, I was like, I kick myself now for not getting all of them because they'd probably be worth a pretty penny.
Well, it was that whole storyline was clearly kind of a dig at Star Trek.
Oh yeah,
with the line, we're not some deep space franchise.
Yeah,
and I think that storyline was kind of meant to kind of mock.
Oh yeah,
Paramount, with Star Trek.
Totally. And I can't say that I blame them. I mean, we're meant to sow peace and diplomacy, not make a quick buck.
Yeah.
I know that Peter David was it wrote the episode, but JMS insisted that line went in. So it wasn't just it was just written; it was insisted in another script.
Yep.
So it was
Pretty
a definite dig.
Oh, and I saw this a little bit on some feed earlier, I think like a day or two ago. Apparently JMS was supposed to work on a 5-year arc for Star Trek at some point.
Yes, he was. Babylon 5 was actually supposed to be a Star Trek series at one point, but Paramount rejected it several times.
And then they used the script for their other show, which also took place on a space station.
Kind of, but not really. It's almost like they took like a skeleton example and tried to do their thing, because when you look at it, Deep Space Nine and Babylon 5 are two very, very different stories. So it's
they are. I won't disagree with that.
Well, back in the 2000s, JMS, there was a while there where he was actually going to do a Star Trek reboot.
Oh man, what could all you poor Trekkies have gotten?
Yes.
Instead of what you got.
Oh man, but you know what? I'm just looking at the part now where Sean's like, "Oh, because we are the same, you can ask your questions." And it's like, I'm
just gonna say, I'm getting tired of the Minbari douchebaggery.
Dude, there's a lot of that, isn't there? It's
bunch of giant walking douchebags. Every single one of them you want to pop with a knife. Jeez.
Well, I think it's a good example of how they're, characters on the show generally are more gray than maybe on, say, Star Trek, for example, because the Minbari have a lot of admirable qualities, in their adherence to honor and truth and whatnot. But at the end of the day, they have serious character flaws. One of the main ones being their tremendous arrogance. And I guess just bigotry. I don't know how else to describe it. Really,
I think that's a perfect word. I mean, you don't see Delenn and Lanier being a couple of douches. Which go ahead, Mountains, please.
Although later you find Lanier can be a douche when he's talking about Marcus in the next season. He says, "We're better than you."
Yeah,
so he thinks it himself, but his trying to honor Delenn, he reins all that in, and he tries to be what he thinks she would like.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that and he is trying to navigate his personal feelings towards her and what he should professionally feel.
And of course, there's his final action on the show.
Yeah.
Which
God. And
doesn't reflect well.
But you got to think about it like this: Lanier's entire arc is almost Shakespearean in nature.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an incredible and compelling, very, very ultimately very human sort of trajectory, which is bizarre in and of itself.
Well, and that's one of the great things about Straczynski and the other writers that worked on this show is the fact that they were able to take the alien and give it a sense of humanity, which I think it's something that you see often in good sci-fi or just in good fiction, in general. And honestly, for me at least, I get what you're all saying about Lanier, and I wholeheartedly agree. But I think an even more interesting story arc or character arc is Veer, and
Oh yeah.
just kind of to transition to his story a little bit in this episode. He's gotten a communique that apparently they are seeing a better replacement as Londo's attaché, and he's going to get shipped back home. And he decides to go drown his sorrows, which I can't necessarily I can't blame him for, considering the story that he tells Londo and everything when they're saying they're in the Zocalo and everything. He's like, I don't fit anywhere. He's like, my family doesn't want me around, and now the government doesn't want me around, and you're not gonna want me around. And Londo's like, I never said that. He's like, I never said that ever. And the truly amazing thing is the lengths that Londo goes to get Veer to remain as his attaché. I think that was a great character moment. Go ahead, Fiona, please.
No, I just thought about it. It's a good thing he did that because Veer becomes instrumental with all the stuff that happens on Centauri Prime later and even into the future. Londo needs Veer because Babylon 5 does it when people do gray morality junk nowadays. It's the lame Game of Thrones type gray morality. It's not the true like compare and contrast like Babylon 5 did. In my opinion.
No,
well, I think that Londo's desire to keep Veer around is genuine, but at the same time, it's in his best interest to keep Veer there. Because, Veer's basically the only one who really knows what Londo's been up to. And basically knows the truth of what Londo's been doing. And, it may not be best for him if Veer goes back to Centauri Prime and then maybe starts talking.
Well, deep down, Londo knows that if he were to get another attaché, he would not be able to have the same kind of relationship that he has with Veer. But Veer, Veer takes a lot of heat, takes a lot of punishment. Veer is kind of like the little brother kind of whipping boy. He has kind of like whipping boy role for Londo in a lot of ways, and it's a lot of emotional unloading that Londo is able to do with Veer. And I think if Veer were to go away and you were to replace Veer with someone else, Londo would lose that outlet. So there's a lot of that too, where when you have that connection and you see the connection between the two characters, the chemistry is just unrelenting. So anybody else being replacing Veer would probably be a disaster.
Yeah. Plus, that attaché would be traditionally trained, so that Londo really wouldn't get a good soundboard from that new attaché. Exactly. That attaché would be a puppet of the Emperor.
Yep, exactly.
In many ways, just like his Veer is like Daguerre, his third wife, and the other two are the trained wives, what wives should be. So Londo chooses, like he chose Daguerre, Veer, because he knows he can trust him. And he knows Veer will tell him what he thinks. Yes. And he has. He said, Londo, you're doing the wrong thing, but didn't embarrass him by saying it in front of others. So Veer is someone he can trust, and he does that with Garibaldi. He says, when I had nothing, you were there for me. And he feels the same about Veer. When Veer had nothing to gain, Veer stood by him.
Yeah. And very quickly to the chat, Colin P. Smith. Colin, it's been a while. Good to see you, bud. And he says, at least amongst the Centauri, Veer is the only person Londo can really call a friend. And yeah, that's true. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Because if you think of, and we've all kind of hit upon that friendship. I mean, yeah, it started off as very ambassador and attaché relationship, very professional and a little bit mean. But then Londo and Veer have warmed up to each other. They've worked well together, and eventually, over time, they will that friendship, that camaraderie, will be a great boon to both of them. And yeah, I can't remember if it was Lyceum or Classic or anything you said or anything. Like he kind of has the same relationship with Veer that he does with the one wife he kept to get. What was her name?
Timov.
Yeah.
Timov. Yeah.
Timov.
Yes. Daguerre was the other. Yeah.
Yeah. Daguerre was the one that he pitched. She was one of the two that he pitched. And some of the dialogue that Veer says, he's like, I'm swallowed up by secrets. I can't talk to anyone. I can't confide or confess to anyone. He's like, I'm either swallowed by secrets or I'm swallowed by silence. And that's a very lonely place to be when you have so much that you want to say, but you have no outlet in which to say it. And I think we all can, to one degree or another, relate to that position. We have so much on our minds, and everything, in our hearts that we want to just put out there, but sometimes, unless we're in a relationship of some sort, or we have a very close friend, we don't have that outlet. And Veer very well personifies in that particular instance that loneliness that most everyone feels, and even Londo himself and everything feels it himself. And unfortunately, the darkness just slowly starts to close in around him, everything, as the series goes on.
Yep, and that's very apparent in season 5. Ooh,
yeah,
boy.
Yeah, unfortunately. But I do want to talk a little bit about this whole idea of them having the Emporium on the station. I know it was kind of played for comedic effect. I think there's actually some stuff there that we can really dig into and everything. If y'all are willing, or if there's something else you'd rather talk about, then by all means.
No, I think it's a good thing to look at.
Well, the thing that I find of interest is with so many different franchises and so on, Babylon 5 was one of the few that really didn't go heavy into merchandising. They did limited stuff, but in the episode, they're doing it to try and defray some of their expenses and so on. And it just kind of speaks to the whole economic situation of Earth Force currently. They're getting that hard up that they have to open a gift shop on Babylon 5.
But the fact they're expecting it to make $2 million says a lot about, even in that small shop, how lucrative that would be. I mean, a lot of small shops that size would be quite happy with that return.
Oh, yeah. Guarantee it.
And it was just mentioned, too, that a lot of the stuff in that shop was made by lurkers or made by people in the Zocalo. So it's interesting that it's also made on the station, spreading the wealth around.
They got sweatshops down under.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Probably the guys.
Babylon 5 sneakers.
Tell us the truth. How was that teddy bear really constructed?
Those guys doing the singing were kind of singing in pity. We had to make the shoes. We had to make the shoes.
They've got Pak Marad chained to tables and
Oh my goodness. Okay, to a dark place. This line of
oh no!
Conversation will take us.
Oh no! They can recycle people through the Pak Marad. No.
Yeah. You're Drazi. You're a merchandiser. It's like, okay.
Well, not to mention, I'm gonna say it. The couple of times where Ivanova's in the shop and she thinks she's talking to a human. It turns out she's talking to a Drazi. And another instance, she thinks she's talking to an alien and she's talking to a human. I'm just going to say it. The prosthetics and everything were actually really good in this episode. Not to mention that you actually see them take them off and they don't go kaflooey.
I was saying that you're mentioning that about that alien. That's the Markebs. And in a few episodes, it would be so poignant if that was still there, because that was a Markeb mask. And then was it just a couple of episodes? That's when the Drafa plague hits. So it's kind of poignant that they were merchandising an alien race that are weeks from extinction.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very much.
without
Wow.
knowing it.
That's a great point.
Well, and from what I remember that episode, the doctor said that their government told them to keep it on the down low, and it started back in like February of that year for the station.
2259.
Yep.
Yeah. At least I'm pretty sure it's from 2258 to 2259. Yeah. But yeah, it's ironic to me that they actually tackle the idea of merchandising when merchandising is so prevalent in our culture now. I mean, everything everything under the sun has some sort of merchandising arm, and oftentimes it can come off as it can be very well done, it can be very tasteful, and other times it just seems like a cash grab. And it almost makes you think all the way back to the very beginning of the big boom of merchandising in a little year called 1977 with a little movie called Star Wars.
That, and I remember when The Simpsons was in its big run with with when I was a kid, you couldn't go anywhere without seeing Bart Simpson
I know.
splattered on something.
And there were so many different variations of Bart Simpson as well. It was ridiculous.
I know. And okay, we'll get into the part where Londo gets offended because you see a bunch of Centauri women sitting around laughing at the doll, and he's like, "Is there a problem, Ambassador? Can we talk?" And you see the expression. Not only is Sheridan and Ivanova trying to dodge one interstellar incident, now the possibility of having to dodge two, and all it is over is a stinking doll. And you're like, it's Centauri Ken Gate. Because, well, as we all know, the Ken doll, not exactly anatomically correct, but that's okay. But I find it funny that the Centauri would take offense to something as seemingly innocent as a freaking doll. And I absolutely love the expression on Londo's face. He's like, I want to rip someone's throat out, but I don't know who to do it to.
Oh boy.
So point me in the direction of the person who made this hideous thing that doesn't have any attributes. And of course, you've got the cute and adorable John Sheridan teddy bear. And I'm sorry, I'm just gonna say it. Warren Kiefer or Keffer was never going to be a thing, so quit trying to make him a thing.
Yeah, that was.
Well, it just reeks of desperation how they tried so hard to make something out of that character, and from what I heard and from what I was told in the past, that guy was very, very, very Robert Russler. He was very, very difficult to work with. He was sort of a prima donna, a diva, and they, and basically, they kept trying to find ways to work him into the show, kept trying to find ways to make him, to include him, to make him gel with the cast, and it just never happened.
I wonder was that JMS is doing because he never wanted
no
a pilot in it.
The network at the time, WB, wanted some sort of hotshot rookie pilot to be kind of like I guess some sort of we got to appeal to certain demographics kind of thing even back then, and it just wasn't clicking.
No,
nobody cared. he was like a wasted role, really. I mean,
well, okay, I'm going to quote a movie that I actually love, and I'm eventually going to do a review for. You're not particularly well liked. You dress in the manner of a male prostitute, and that's from Mystery Men. If anybody remembers that movie, and if you don't, that's okay. It's like a super ultra cult classic.
Yeah.
The line sounds familiar.
It's
My
from
dad
Mystery Men.
probably watched it. Yeah, my dad probably watched it. That's probably why it sounds familiar.
So,
I
well,
think,
guys, go
sorry,
ahead,
I
Elysium.
was
No,
thinking-
go ahead.
I think Kiefer would have worked if they'd have played him like Apollo from BSG reimagined a few years later. Had he been the son of a politician and been more, it would have made he would have been a good character when they broke from Earth, especially if his father was in the Clark administration. That would have been a great dynamic, but the fact they picked the actor, they didn't want him, yeah, it was a dead end. And he was only in it just to keep the studio quiet.
Well, and we had a much more interesting character in terms of Zach Allen that came on board and everything at the same time. So you bring two brand new characters onto the series. One hits, the other doesn't. And Zach Allen becomes a fan favorite. I mean, this is a character that we all like. This is all a character that we resonate with to one degree or another. And he has become Garibaldi's right-hand man, even though he does have a little bit of a dip and everything there when he gets involved with Night Watch. And we'll get to that and everything in time when we get into the whole Death Watch situation and everything. But again, go ahead.
There is another favorite Vanderbilt moment when Sheridan's like beauty in the dark, and she's like, "It must be working. You're starting to talk more like a Vorlon."
Oh yes, yeah. I did want to talk about that and everything. The lesson with Kosh and everything. And okay, I'm going to ask you all this because there was a line reference, or there's a reference or anything. There was a conversation between Veer and Londo or something, or somebody else. Were those Pakma Ra that Sheridan was sitting with?
I don't think it's ever really made clear what species they are.
Because it sounds like the way they sing, it sounds like what Veer describes as the voice of one of the Centauri gods, or the voice of God. And I did appreciate that particular storyline, because Kosh shows up and Sheridan's like, this is not the best time, and Kosh is like, well, then this is the best time.
Yeah, we're doing this. Come on.
Yeah, we're going. Come on, Junior.
I think it was some Gregorian monks that were doing that portion though too.
Yeah,
I remember reading about from the stuff. So that's pretty interesting. They legitimately got beautiful sounding monk voices to give you a moment of peace and quiet in a crazy show episode.
Yeah,
it was.
And I just want to bring up this comment real quick by Colin and everything. Dear modern writers, watch Zach's storyline with the Night Watch. It's called character development. Yes, Colin, I would wholeheartedly agree with that, bud. Truly. But I find that clip and everything of that scene and everything, because it's one of my favorite Sheridan Kosh scenes and everything, because it's simple, and I kind of understand what Kosh is trying to teach Sheridan, but I want your all's interpretation of that particular storyline there.
Well, let's see. I'm trying to think. It's like my brain just like.
It's okay.
Just saying, for me, I think without that moment, Sheridan would not have been ready to let things go at the end and keep things secret for Lanier, saying, let it be a mystery. I think Kosh stilled his mind.
It was a way for Sheridan to take that moment and look outside of himself and appreciate his surroundings, even considering where they were and where the location of where they actually were. And it's like, remember when Sheridan's like, you want me to go in there? And he was hesitant to do that, and he didn't know what to. And an especially poignant moment was when he finally realized that he had to give something in order to receive something back. And it was, I found it amazing how he's like, okay, so he takes his command bar and he finally gives that up as a way of trying to, make something happen. And I was also kind of struck at how long it took him to actually figure that out. I mean, you could tell that that Sheridan was not in the frame of mind for that type of lesson. And the reality was that's exactly what he needed. So it was an especially beautiful moment and a brilliant piece of writing, if you ask me.
It's interesting. Sorry.
Yeah, I think. Sorry.
No, go ahead, guys.
I was going to say, I think, kind of going with what Zodrider was saying. I think it's just the lesson. I think was for him to just kind of, for lack of a better term, just kind of relax and maybe just still his mind a little, considering everything that he's going through at that time. For him to then go down there and have that moment, I think it was a good example of how to just kind of relax and try and maybe reevaluate things.
Yeah, and I think, Elysium, please, you go ahead, and then I'll give my thoughts.
No, I was thinking of the line in season 5 where I can't think of it. The two Minbari are training with the acolytes, and they're saying anyone can meditate when things are good. It's important you learn to meditate when things are difficult. Mm-hmm. And so Sheridan's learning the Minbari lesson now. It just popped into my mind there. And as a quick aside, that moment that Sheridan had, I had a similar walking through a monastery. It was all silence, and then suddenly out of nowhere, Gregorian chant just sprung up. Mm-hmm. And it felt like that moment, that look on Sheridan's face, that was my face at that moment. It was magical. Out of nowhere, a moment of perfect, as I say, beauty.
Yeah, exactly as Kosh said it.
Yeah, perfect. Sheridan's like, I'm kind of busy right now, and Kosh says, that's the perfect time then.
Come on, let's go.
Yeah. The Vorlon seems to always know when it's the right time to inject something unique into a situation. So.
Well, and, the thing I always took away from it kind of folds in with what you all have said as well. When you're going to be facing absolute terror and horror and the worst of the worst that could possibly happen to you, you need those moments to reflect back upon. Those moments, as Kosh said, a moment of perfect beauty. Because if you consider what's coming up, come the Inquisitor, we're going to be getting into that pretty soon. The revelation of the fact that Morden knows about the fate of Sheridan's wife and so many other things. And it truly will carry on for Sheridan.
It's kind of the calm before the storm.
In a manner of speaking, I have several moments that I would consider a moment of perfect beauty, and those are when I'm stressed, and yes, even the Ambassador gets stressed. I am after all only human. I just play a Vorlon on YouTube. Sorry, bad joke. But I could understand what Kosh was trying to teach Sheridan in that moment. And I can say I've had people in my own life, particularly family and very close friends, who have shown me that you have to step back and find those moments of beauty and hang on to them. And hang on to them tightly because they are fleeting. And considering, as I said, everything that Sheridan is about to go through, those moments of beauty are going to be fleeting, but he can go back in the recesses of his memory and he can pull that moment out and meditate upon it. And remember one of many gifts that Kosh gave to him.
Actually, now that I think about it, it kind of reminds me, like Sheridan said, he met the Dalai Lama and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he was having kind of like a Buddhist moment. Even you could tie it to a lot of different religions, but it's universal.
Yes, I would agree with that. And I actually had the opportunity and everything several years ago. Actually, it was back when I was in high school. We took a trip to a well, not local, but to a monastery here in the state, and it's a Benedictine monastery, and we actually got to walk into the chapel and everything, or the sanctuary that they gather every day, several times throughout the day, and just to stand there in that absolutely beautiful yet serene space and realize that people of devout faith come into this space several times a day to pause and pray and meditate and chant. And I've actually heard Gregorian chant live. And hearing that in this episode triggered that memory in my own mind and reminded me of my own moment of perfect beauty. So,
sounds nice.
Now, my education has given me the opportunity to experience some very unique things in my life. So I'm thankful for it, just truly. So, well, guys, anything else about this episode that we want to dig into? Do we want to dig into the main plot line, or have we covered that thoroughly enough to y'all's satisfaction? Or is there anything else in there that we want to dig into that we haven't really?
It's interesting how the saving face and everything was constantly being played up from multiple angles in this episode. Lanier was willing to take a fall on the axe to preserve his clan's honor in a way, because they were acting dishonorably initially by setting up this whole thing and sanctioning it with Ashan and what was the other guy, Lavelle?
Yes.
Yeah. They were sanctioning the character assassination when Minbari are all about like not assassinating people's character usually.
I love the underlining theme of the episode where we find out that the Minbari are actually just a bunch of liars. I mean, it's essentially like truth is a convenience that is really only used when it's beneficial. Beyond that, it's
like, how many times have we heard on Star Trek that Vulcans don't lie? But, we know they do.
Yes.
I smell bullcrap.
They don't lie except when they do.
I think it's a good insight into the Minbari that to their own minds they don't lie, because when I was saying earlier what I was up to, that the Minbari have an idea of a higher truth, which is their honor, rather than the real truth. So they won't lie to the higher truth, which is defending honor, saving face for their clan. But the real truth, the mundane details that we all call truth, everyone else would call truth, they have no problem dancing around that one if it doesn't.
That's a good observation.
That's a brilliant observation. The idea that it's about the inner truth, it's about the greater truth, not the simple truth, the detailed truth. Yeah, that's cool. That makes sense.
Yeah, well said, Elysium, as always.
Like, as I was mentioning there earlier about saving face, the same happens with Londo, where he tells Veer, to save face, I'll have to go, and I don't want to. And if I have to go, I will kill you.
Because if I have to leave this wonderful place and its many delights,
I will. And the fact his revenge was calling Veer's family, telling him how wonderful he was, and inviting him there for a month. And I think Veer was more horrified at meeting his family for a month than he was about being fired.
Yeah.
Plus, I find it fun that future waifu was in his corner and he was in future waifu's corner. They were both kind of bolstering each other. It's like I find Ashan's statement of Sheridan's basic values to be very dubious. It's not like him to be dishonorable. I am confused. It's like, oh boy.
Like, hello, Delin. He's not a liar. If he got attacked, he got attacked. And just very quickly to the chat.
Well, as we know, Delenn is going to learn for herself just how honorable and honest Sheridan is throughout the course of the series.
Yes,
I think that's what I had a note written down that Sheridan's action of saving face for the Minbari, showing that he's willing to do that. This is a character point for Delenn going forward. This is shaming her that a human, a non-Minbari, could out-Minbari them.
Yeah. And Colin P. Smith sums up perfectly. Truth is a three-edged sword. My side, your side. All right, Colin. Nice try.
Yeah.
It's so very convenient.
That's true.
And just real quick to the chat, Spirit Hero Reviews. Good to see you, bud. I'm glad you're back online again and everything. Fortunately, Superior Hero was down for a few weeks. He had some storms come through and his internet got all jacked up. And, well, he's back up and running, folks. So if you haven't checked out Superior Hero Reviews, he's streaming everything. He was earlier today. So go over and check him out, absolutely, as always. So, well, guys, anything else about this episode we want to dig into?
A girl brain finds it adorable that Sheridan was like, oh, you know what? Let's not bring his clan into it. And then look at Delenn's face. Like, that she's so happy.
Mm-hmm. Yep, indeed. So, well, guys, if there is anything else, I think we'll go ahead and wrap up here and everything. And great discussion. And as always, a lot of fun. So, I want to thank my fellow council members, Fiona Wolf, Zod Ryder. Zod, always a pleasure to have you, man, anytime.
Man, always a pleasure to be here with you, Ambassador.
So, and Mountains of Elysium Classic Comics, gentlemen, my friends, thank you again for being here. And I do want to bring up Bureau 31's comment here. Yeah. Babylon 5 comes in space cases.
Yeah. I think Peter David does that bear does reappear in a lot of his other work.
Yeah. So, well, folks, I want to thank y'all for being here this afternoon. Those of you that were participating in the chat, and those of you that were lurking, appreciate it. Appreciate all of you for being here. Just a real quick update. I will be over on Orange Hat Reviews channel later this evening at 8 p.m. Central Time. We'll be talking about who would win the War of the Hellions, either Spawn or Hellboy. So hope to see some of y'all over there tonight. And then, of course, next week, got a big one coming. 1 year anniversary of the Ambassadorial Wing, my channel, and all that is entailed in that. And going to be doing a couple. I'm definitely going to be doing a couple of watch parties. Going to be doing one for obviously Monty Python, The Holy Grail. Also going to be doing a watch party because this is, I'm assuming, unless they pull another schnooker on us, going to be doing a watch party for the latest episode of The Mandalorian. Going to be doing some karaoke, and we'll see where the rest of the night takes us. So hope to see you all then, and I'll start at 7 p.m. Central Time and go till 7 a.m. or when I pass out from exhaustion, whichever happens first. So, panel, my friends, if there's anything you want to plug for your channels, I yield the floor. By all means, do so now. So,
Florida Woman is tired of all the anti-heroes and everything, so I'm doing aspirational space opera with superheroes on my own blog and channel. Huzzah!
My channel is Classic Comics. I review comics, also review movie, TV properties as well.
Bless me. Sorry.
Bless you.
Bless you.
Yes, because allergies are. That's why I had to mute myself a few times because I was like, oh no, here comes my nose. No.
Zod, Mountains, have you got anything you want to plug for your channels before we sign off?
I've been too lazy, so nothing been done recently.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay,
No,
well,
fair enough.
Wait, but he had pretty good stuff about the lovely God. I'm having a Narnia. There we go. Narnia.
Oh, maybe that was recently. Yes.
Yes.
Awesome.
Man, big old lion's gonna make everybody's day happier. Yep. There we go.
Yes.
Well, you can find me Tuesday nights on the Zod Rider Show on YouTube at 8 p.m. Central Time, 9 p.m. Eastern. And you can also find me on Sundays where I do the PlayStation Plus podcast with two other great gentlemen. We don't have an exact time that we do that, but we do it every single Sunday. So that's something else. And it was great. I thank you so much to all of you for allowing me to come on here and be a part of this great podcast. I love talking about Babylon 5. This is awesome. So thank you very much. It was wonderful meeting all of you, and I look forward to next week.
And folks, if you are liking the time change and the day change for our Babylon 5 streams, put a 1 or 2, put a something in the comments or anything, or something in the chat saying that you want us to continue this road, because we are here for you and everything, and we want to work it out to where it's workable for us, but we also want to work it out where you all can participate and be here live when we do these. And I mean, obviously, I love everybody that catches these on the replay, obviously, but if you would prefer us to do these on Friday afternoons, we will definitely hear you out. So either DM me on Twitter or on Instagram or whatever and let me know, or let the other council members know, because it is not one voice, it is many voices. So anyways, folks, that all being said, y'all have a great afternoon, and until next time, this is the Ambassadors signing off.
I have always been